Welcome to PD on the Go, the podcast that delivers bite-sized learning on communication, collaboration, and facilitation for busy teacher leaders. Tune in while you're in the car, on your lunch break, or making copies, and get ready to level up your leadership skills. My name is Mary Beth Anderson, and I'm joined today by my colleagues in the Office of Professional Learning in Fairfax County Public Schools.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Hazelbeck.
Hello, Erica Williams here.
I'm Hallie Case.
So over the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about how teams function and their impact on student achievement. So we shared how teams can identify where they are on a team impact matrix, and we talked last week about how to improve the function on your team. So now we want to dive in today and think about how can we level up our impact so that teams that may have low impact can move towards that high impact for student achievement. So what are some ideas that we can start with for teams, Rebecca?
So when I think about teams and what they do when they come together to collaborate, we want to think about making sure that we're answering the 4 critical questions. And that comes from the research around professional learning communities. And so we want to make sure when we come together, we're not talking about what we're going to do on the field trip or did we get the permission slip signed. Like those are things that can be answered in an email, right? We want to think about the 4 critical questions of a professional learning community. So what is it that the students need to learn and be able to do? How are we going to be sure the students learned it? What are we going to do if they don't? And then what are we going to do for the students that already learned it? And so those 4 questions are the questions that we come together around, and those are the questions that help to ensure student success and student learning.
Okay, so once we can answer those questions, we know that we'll be having an impact on learning, and we're not just planning to be ready for the day, which I think sometimes happens when we are functioning. We're all prepared for our day. When we walk away, we have our plans, but we maybe haven't dove into the questions on what are we going to do if they haven't learned it? What are we going to do to keep them moving forward if they already know it?
Yeah,
right?
I think a lot of times we just get stuck in the planning and question 1, right? What is it the students need to know and be able to do? And then we start lesson planning and then we forget, well, what if they didn't learn it? And that's where I think we can support the impact piece.
Yeah. So there's some tools that teams can put into place or structures to support them in answering these 4 critical questions. So Hallie, can you tell me a little bit about what could teams use to help ensure that they're doing that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think a lot of them are tools that teams already use. It's just maybe thinking about them through the different lens of those 4 critical questions. So things like an agenda. I bet most teams in FCPS have some sort of an agenda. And when you look at it and you think about the outcomes, the things that you're going to walk away with having done at the end of the meeting, do they align with the 4 critical questions? And if not, make a tweak on your agenda, change what you're talking about so that there's greater alignment for the impact. Unit planning guides, same thing, right? If you're backwards planning from a unit assessment and then putting informative assessments, I think the assessment piece is huge. What are we agreeing upon as a team that's going to be common so that we can come together and share student work and really talk about where are we seeing the impact on students as a result of the planning that we have been doing. So those things that you already have in place, I would think about what could you do to put small tweaks so that they're more closely aligned with those 4 critical questions, particularly around the ones that have to do with data. Yeah.
Being really intentional about those.
Yes, yeah.
And I also think it is about when you bring that student data or when you're leveraging those questions, having an opportunity to share strategies and resources. In particular, what has worked really well? What has had a great impact on students where learning has increased, and each person having an opportunity to talk about that so that learning is occurring and you're gaining new strategies from each other, which boosts the collaboration, and then you're able to see where student learning has increased and come back, bring that data, bring that student data back to the space and look at it, talk about it, norm around it, so that everyone is on the same page about that growth and is always thinking about keeping students at the center of it all.
And it's a way to measure that impact,
Yes.
right? So it's thinking about what's working, what's not working, what adjustments can we make? Because there are going to be things that you try and you do with students and it doesn't have an impact. So how do we shift?
Yeah.
And it's just really making sure that we have those conversations around it.
Yeah, I think about if you've been in FCPS for a while, you've probably heard the phrase CLT cycle, follow the CLT cycle, that sort of puts the 4 critical questions in this cyclical pattern of working through them in a really strategic way. And that sometimes we see that we don't make it all the way through all 4 questions. So we have thought a lot about that and worked with a lot of people in the county to think about how can we answer more than one critical question at a time. So we do have some things that I think we feel really proud about. We're hearing from schools that support them in the work that they're doing in a tool called our CLT protocol library. So I know, like Mary Beth, I feel like you're sort of asking the questions, but I want to hear you talk about the CLT protocol librray.
I feel like the CLT protocol library has been our baby
I know.
this year, and
Yes.
we've gotten some really good feedback. So this is your team, whether you're an experienced facilitator or a new team, or you're working towards self-led teams, this is a tool that you can use to put in structures and think about what are we doing to answer those 4 critical questions, and not what am I doing? I'm doing week 1, I'm answering question 1. Week 2, I'm answering question 2. Really thinking about what am I doing before a unit, what am I doing during a unit, and what am I doing after a unit. So we'll be sure to share that protocol library, and we've got lots of slides in there to explain it, and we'd love for you to reach out if you're using it or have any questions. So you can find that and all of our resources on our Instagram page at FCPS_PD. And we want to thank you today for tuning in to another episode of PD on the Go. See you next time.